Okay, this is a presentation of COVID data collected since early May for all 50 states. Today I'm presenting the mountain states, which include Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Utah, and Wyoming. In Colorado, a state of about 6 million people, they had a record number of cases on October 16th, 2 days ago, 1,312. So that bears watching in the future, see what happens with that. As far as their last 30 days, 31 to 60, 61 to 90 days, they did have a drop in cases from 61 to 90 to 31 to 60 days. But now they've had a drastic increase in cases over the last 30 days. They've also had a similar drop and then increase in deaths. They have started to test a little more, but still not adequately. I mean, they're testing about less than 9,000 people a day in the past 30 days. States with that population typically test about 20,000. So actually Colorado per capita tests fewer people than any state in the country. That's just a little tidbit for you. Their positive test rate was just meandering along and around 5, 6, 7%, and it's gone up the last couple weeks, which has driven it up to 8% over the last 30 days. Their death rate is fairly low, quite low. Let's take a look at their 14-day trailing average positive test rate. And they were meandering around 5 to 8% for a long time, way back even before this graph shows. And I was waiting for them to go up because they don't test enough people. And sure enough, looks like right around Labor Day was their last rise. Their valley was not very low, and they've risen again, and their positive 14-day moving average positive test rate as of October 17th, which basically means taking all the tests and all the new cases for the past 14 days up to this point back, is now over 9%. They haven't been over 9%, I don't think, ever. So Colorado is not going in a good direction right now. If you look at their cases, there's that peak of 1312. These were records before that. So they've had 3 records in the past 8 days, 9 days. As far as new case records, as far as deaths go, I just have that one peak. But I'm afraid with these record cases over the last week, they're probably going to have a bad death date. Maybe not this record, but I guess that was pretty high back in April, but they're going to have a pretty high day. If you look at their summary, last 30 days, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, their cases are going up. Their deaths, we did all this. Yeah, we went through all this. I've been waiting for Colorado to explode with cases because they do such a poor job of testing, and I'm afraid that this might be it right here. We'll see going forward. I mean, I hope it's not, but my experience when states don't test enough, they pay for it with cases later. Next state is Idaho. Idaho, under 2 million people. They just had a record case date on the 16th of October of 1094. If you look at their cases in general, they barely dipped under the R1 level. and then they started going up again. Nobody in the press talks much about Idaho, but they really have not done well throughout this whole pandemic. But no one talks about them because it's just a small state. It's not a New York, it's not a California, it's not a Florida or Texas, which is pretty sad. If you look at their testing has actually gone down a little bit while their cases are going up, which means their positive test rate is going up 23.73% over the last 30 days. Their death rate is fairly low. That's because their deaths really haven't gone up while their cases have. So if there's one bright of sunshine here, a ray of sunshine, their deaths are not going up. If we look at their positive test rate, they're up in the territory of North and South Dakota now, 25% plus. I mean, they've never been close to 5%. They've barely been under 10% at any point. And for the most part, they've been between 10 and 20%. They just recently broke out above 20 on September 29th, it looks like. Not much good I can say about Iowa right now. Cases are high. Their testing is low. They really need to be about 5,000 tests a day, and they're sitting at about 2,000 to 2,500. So that's what we have for Idaho. Next state is Montana. A little over 1 million people. Again, they had a record case date on 10/15 of 723. Let's take a look at that. And they've had 3 days of record. Well, they have record here. So this is the third record date they've had in the past 11 days. As far as cases go, look at the explosion of cases this month in Montana. From under 4,000 to 12,500. Their deaths are climbing. They are testing a lot more. Looks like about 4,400 tests per day, which is a pretty good amount for a state of 1 million. That's a fair amount of testing. They were not testing much before that. I mean, this was below where they needed to be. They really stepped up their game, but positive test rate has just exploded. They were in a good place. Now they're not. And if you don't test, you end up not finding cases, and then the cases spread, and the test rate goes up. That's what I've seen. That's what's happening in Colorado as well. Look at their 14-day trailing average positive test rate. I mean, they were down around Montana way back in April, May. They had nothing. They had hardly any cases. Their positive test rate was 1%. And now they're up to 11%. Just sad, really. Their caseload. Cases have straddled the R1 line for a long time, and around the third week of September, last week of September, it's just gone up. So Montana's not doing very well. Next state is Nevada. Nevada, 3 million people. They just had a record case date as well, 1447. And oh no, that was in July. Sorry, they have not had one recently. Let's look at their cases. Yeah, they lowered it. They were finally got under R1 early September, and now they've turned around and they're going up again. But if we look at their 30-day, 31 to 60, 61 to 90-day period, the cases went down drastically, and now they've gone up somewhat. You saw that in the graph. Their deaths have gone down. Their testing was really, really in a good place 60 to 90 days ago. Well, not in a good place. It was okay, but they've dropped off the last couple months. Their positive test rate dropped. Now it's climbing again. I mean, look at their 14-day trailing average positive test rate. Peaked up around 13%, and got down just under 5 towards the end of September, and now it's going up again. So, Nevada is heading in the wrong direction right now. The next state, as far as the mountain states go, is Utah. Utah is a little over 3 million people. They've had case and death records since the 1st of October. Their cases were pretty steady for 60 days, and now their cases have exploded in the last 30 days. If you look at their deaths were pretty high 60 to 90 days ago, dropped drastically, and now they're up a little bit. Their testing has really gone up. They're testing about 10,000, which is almost adequate. This right here, 195, 190, that was not adequate. Their positive test rate is going up. Their death rate is going down. Because their deaths aren't really going up while their cases are. But, deaths are trail cases, so we'll see what happens with that. Their positive 14-day moving average, trailing average, positive test rate, they got down under 5% in July, meandered between 6 and 8% for a while, and then around September 19th, 20th, got about above 8%, and now they're above 9%, so Utah isn't doing very well either. Finally, we have Wyoming. Wyoming was one of those states that had a 1% positive test rate way back in April. Way back. And they're above that now. They're probably the lowest of all the mountain states. Still. Population was just over 500,000 people. They had a record case date on October 16th of 290. But you can see the gradual increase over the past 3 weeks. They were pretty much, for the most part, under the R1 level to keep the virus in check. And something happened in the middle of September, and you see this gradual increase ever since then, over the last month. Their cases have gone from about 1,200 a month up to over 4,000 a month this last 30 days. Their deaths are pretty low, very low, and they always have been. Their testing has gone up quite a bit, which is really good. I mean, they are testing adequately now, but their positive test rate over the last 30 days is the highest over a 30-day period. And their death rate is really low because of how few deaths they've had. So if anything, Wyoming is doing well because they've kept their deaths low. But it is concerning where their positive test rate is and the number of cases that they've been reporting over the last month. So that bears watching for Wyoming. Okay, this concludes the video for COVID data for mountain states for the data collected through October 17th, 2020. Thank you for watching.